from last year, but we had an entire month without a children's librarian. I think that probably had a lot to do with that. But as far as the special programs, we had 672 people attend. We had two programs, the Magician and the Raptor Center, both had over 100, with the Raptor Center being the most attended with 165. And we were down from last year as far as kids go by 114. Last year we had 566. This year we had 452 participate.
Something you and I talked about at the Computer Learning Center the other day, and just for a future agenda item, I'd like to get tutors for a change, or one of the other Davis tutoring organizations over here to basically not only tutor at the Computer Library Center and at the Dixon High School Learning Center, but also in the library on the weekends, so that students have resources both during the week and on the weekends if they need help doing homework or other things. So I will get in contact with those people, and I'll put them in contact with you, and we may want to create some sort of a program where we're offering some kind of tutoring hours on Saturday or Sunday at the library, potentially for students.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we do that, are the tutors paid, and how do they get paid?
Okay. There are different ways they get paid. The library would not have to pay them, but you would have to find a spot where you'd have to find a conference room type atmosphere where they could tutor, and that could be a problem in the library. And then you're also going to want to set up some sort of a, pizza party type social things in order to kind of reward them as well for their service. That's what we did at the Learning Center last year. So we did a couple of pizza parties for the tutors. So, but I'll check into that, and just for a future agenda item to have that potentially as a resource for students on the weekend.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. The next library activity would be the budget. We have the final budget for everybody from last year. And we also have what there is of this year so far. There's not a lot that's been spent, but it should be represented in both everybody's packet.
Well, the nice part of this is between the building fund and the additional funds that you have in the general fund, we at least could do a phase one project of Miller if we decided to go that route. Okay, maybe we wouldn't be able to do everything at Miller all at once, but we could break it down into phases and do that. And I assume that's part of the agenda items that we're going to talk about later with Wilden. And yeah.
Does anyone have any questions about the budget? Any public comments? Okay, ongoing business?
Okay, the next two are kind of intertwined. The Wilden report, I met with two of our attorneys and Carlos that came out and gave the presentation a few months on the report. Mm-hmm. He is going to rewrite the report with different population estimates, and I'm not sure exactly what the results of that will be, but he's going to use the California Department of Finance rather than the Association of Bay Area Governments projections, which I had found for him. And
okay.
It looks like that'll probably give us a bigger projected growth.
Well, he was talking 400 square feet. Miller is about 4,000 square feet. To say that the library's physical needs, considering the current situation with space,
Mm-hmm.
are only 400 additional square feet is purely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
That report was way out in left field. Obviously we are no longer looking at the $25 million go bond, but with the Miller renovation, you would pick up about, not quite 4,000 square feet, 2,000 of which would be
Usable?
accessible to the public. The other 2,000 would be staff offices and archives. And so you pick up an extra, and then you can reconfigure so that you have more space for computers. You have an actual break room for, you have an ADA compliant office as well, staff office, and you'll have a children's program room. And that would be, you know, I think that's more in keeping with what I think your future needs are than either the original Wilden report or the $25 million. The Go Bonds one extreme, the Wilden report was the other extreme. So anyway.
So I'm hoping that by next meeting that he'll have a report that we can actually look at and vote on.
Well, you need to communicate with him about, I mean, we have the Miller building right now as it is, and it's in a horrible state of disrepair. But you need to communicate with him that among other decisions which the board will be making, it will be, what are we doing with the Miller building, and how would we, integrate that into the existing library facilities? And he needs to take the Miller building into consideration when he rewrites the report. Okay.
Right. As far as the Miller building goes, I talked with 6 or 7 different architects. Most of them weren't interested in the project, but actually Paul Roberts, who came out and did the report in 2013, he said he really isn't interested in the remodeling. But I do have 2 people that expressed interest. One of them is represented by this sheet, Rob Henley. His estimate would be $55,000 to actually get to the point
That's
where,
for the plans.
yeah, to draw a basic plan and tell us what it would cost to remodel the building.
Okay, when he says he's bringing in the contractors, that's electrical, plumbing, fire and safety, that's the issues they're gonna look at? Okay.
Yeah, structural,
Oh, yeah.
mechanical,
The earthquake proofing and everything too.
yeah, all that.
Yeah. Okay.
And I talked to another guy from RMW. He was based in San Francisco, but they also have a Sacramento office.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he thought that it would be, their estimate would be 40 to 50,000, but closer to 50. So
Pretty
it
close.
seems like
Yeah.
that's what it's going to
Well,
cost.
part of the problem you have is there is no existing set of drawings for the Miller building.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real frustration is they literally have to go from scratch because they don't have anything on file that they can use to start with. And I think that's what's really making this as expensive as it is. Now, are we allowed a certain amount, when he talks conceptual design and site plan, are we gonna get a certain amount of latitude in making changes to whatever preliminary set of plans they draw up?
I think so, yeah,
Okay.
that seemed to be.
What
it.
I'd like to know is if he is going to charge us over and above this, for what I'll call the equivalent of change orders, okay, for any adjustments in plan specs that we make once they present us with the first set of preliminary plans, because I don't want to pay him more than $55,000 and be locked into a set of plans. I mean, the plans have to be reviewed by the staff, the public has to see them, and so forth.
City has seen too, right?
Yeah, well, the city, yes, but it's in terms of the actual use of I'm talking more about the way, not so much about the code issues, but about the use of the property, how we would configure it in terms of office space and accommodating staff needs and what the public's looking for. So, but yes, the city will be involved. The biggest problem with the place right now is all the electrical has to be redone because it's on, 4 meters now? 5 meters, I think, is what it's on. It's a total mess, and nothing's up to fire or safety code, and we will not be able, for ADA purposes, to put the elevator in right now. That would be impractical and too expensive. That's why the second floor would be just staff and archives. No public allowed on the second floor. So, anyway, so are we gonna discuss and vote on this tonight?
Yeah, I suppose so. I would like kind of some direction as to whether we should go ahead and spend that kind of money to get basic plans going.
Here's the problem that the board has to address with the Miller Building. You own the building now, and if you were to sell it, I don't believe you could take library funds and renovate the building first and sell it, because the library funds have to be dedicated to library purposes, library construction purposes. You could sell it as is, but the problem with selling it as is it's a total fire sale because of its condition. And also there's no parking, and also the setbacks are actually wrong on that building. It's built really too close to the property line, both on the Carnegie side and on the main library side. It's just, all the setbacks are wrong. And you would have ADA ramp and access problems there unless you configured it the way, we had drawn up the preliminary sort of planned ideas. So it's not a very attractive building, and of course there's a ton of building space that's available in the city already at cheap prices. So we would take a haircut on that building if we sold it. We would be in terrible shape, and we're not in a position to really continue to use it the way we're using it now, which is lease it out, because it's really not safe. There are fire code, health and safety code violations in the building.
And you can't get much money for that anyways.
Yeah.
Because most of it is, you can't even lease it out, huh?
Yeah, and that's the real problem, is that we really shouldn't even have a tenant in there right now. That is a liability issue for us, because it is not up to code in any way, shape, or form. It's from a safety and a public health and fire code standard. There are huge problems in that building, and it's not ADA compliant. And if you do any renovations on the building, they have to be ADA compliant under the 1990 law. So you can't spend library funds except for library purposes. You can't lease the building in its current condition. You could sell it, but you would be selling it at a fire sale. Or you can renovate it and integrate it with your existing library facilities. It's still going to cost a ton of money to do that, but those are really the options. And if we do those, one of the ways, unfortunately, that you make the decision about whether you're going to renovate it and integrate it into the existing library facilities that you have, is you have to have a set of building plans, and so you end up having to spend this kind of money just to get to the point where you can start construction work. So
is that a motion, Joe?
kind of is, isn't it?
Great.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay.
And so which, are we talking about going with the first one?
Do we have to?
Henley?
Just the
I don't-
Henley,
I
right?
only
We just
have
have
one.
Henley.
Henley, we only had one.
Yeah, the other one was more of a verbal.
Yeah.
Do we want to bring
yeah,
that
what-
person in?
The second one was the one that
Between
That's
Guy
the-
Guy and I were on the board. We got this one from the Roberts guy.
It was only good for 6 months, though.
Yeah, well, this was to make sure it was even worth repairing the building and considering renovations, because at that time, it was in such a bad state of disrepair, we didn't even know whether it was fixable.
It was leaking too,
And,
right?
and this guy said that it was worth saving. That's essentially what his conclusion was at the time. So-
Okay.
All right, I'm making the motion that the board allow Steve to move forward and contract with architect and plans drafts people per the Rob Henley estimate, in order to prepare a set of site plans for the Miller Building for the board to review and consider later.
I'll second.
All right, do we have any public comments on this before we vote?
I'm Gina. I would just like to know, will the budget dollars go along with this $55,000 estimate? Would this be out of Fund 428?
This would be out of, yeah, I would assume this would be out of 428.
Yeah, and so it would come out of the funds balance available of 428?
Well, yeah, you have 270 in treasury right now. Is this where your Measure L money is right now? Is that what this is?
No, the Measure L money is in Fund 426.
That's 426?
Yes.
Well, then it probably should come out of 426 if that's where the Measure L money is, because that's construction and facilities money. Shouldn't this be out of 426
I
then?
don't think so.
Why not?
426 is operational.
Well, then the Measure L money, the Measure L money is supposed to be for capital improvement purposes.
I thought it was for operational, but I'd have to research it more. I thought the Measure L money was for operational, for the daily operations, and that
No.
any kind of
Well-
expansion was out of the 428. What do you?
Okay. Where are the impact fees going right now?
428,
Okay. So Measure L money's in 426 and impact fees are in 428?
yes.
Okay. Okay, and the Wildem report is essentially, depending on when it finally gets approved, going to adjust the impact fees, the 428 monies. Okay. At some point, we are going to have to spend some general fund monies in order to do this construction work. You know, we're gonna have to talk to,
Do you know what the preliminary estimate is?
No, that's why we have to
I
get
know
the plans.
Yeah, but there's no even ballpark.
No.
We don't even have a ballpark from them yet. We have no idea what it will cost.
Yeah.
What they're telling us is, you know, where you're talking, if you're talking not having to put an elevator in, then it's all new plumbing, all new electrical, all ADA compliance on the first floor, door and hardware ADA compliance on the second floor, and bathroom ADA compliance on the second floor. And then linking it to the main office. You know, that's so, but they're unwilling to give us an estimate until they actually see a set of plans. No one is even willing to give us a ballpark at this point. So,
All right.
so that's where you're stuck. I mean, do you go forward with the set of plans? Because if it is too prohibitively expensive for us, I mean, what do we do at that point? See?
Fire sale.
Yeah. So, we're gonna need to research, whether we will be able to spend the Measure L monies for construction purposes as opposed to, I'm sure we can, because, I thought that's what was being, that was under consideration with the prior project, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, obviously what we've got in Fund 428 isn't gonna be enough to fund, a renovation project for Miller.
No.
So we're
But it
gonna,
is enough to pay for this now, so we can just go ahead and let her start on that and then research the rest of it.
yeah, we can put it in the 428 fund and then figure out from there.
Right.
But we are gonna need to, this is a deja vu in one sense, okay, and let me just be very plain speaking. One of the concerns that the community had was that the prior director spent $2 million and didn't really have the funding, the construction funding in place, didn't have the GO bond in place, but he spent $2 million in preparation for the project. On a much smaller scale, are we doing the same thing? We're spending $55,000, not knowing for sure yet what this is gonna cost long-term, and not necessarily having the funding in place for that construction.
Well, here's the thing, though. You don't know how much it's going to cost, so it's kind of like, you know,
We're stuck.
chicken egg thing. You know.
Yeah, we are stuck.
In order to find out what it costs, we have to do the.
Just spend some
Right.
money, find out what
Yeah.
it costs, right?
Yeah, otherwise
Otherwise-
we have to fire sale the building. That's the only other option.
Or we're gonna have long-term maintenance that
Yeah.
just keeps eating into the same money that we would be
Right.
spending to renovate.
Yes, that's true, because,
I mean, if we do sell it, it'd be nice to let the people that we sell it to know exactly what's wrong with it. And we
yeah.
would-
Well, technically, we've used it, up to this point, we've used it for the driving school, which we really should not continue use of because the building is not up to code. And likewise, the Friends of the Library bookstore, that we shouldn't have people in there. The building is, you know, it's not fire code safe. There's a million different issues there. So, I mean, in one sense, if we're not doing anything with it, we do need to either fire sale it or just shut it down completely, because it's a huge liability issue right now. We have people in a building that is not a safe building.
Okay, so I think we should move forward with the 55,000
All right,
to come out of Fund 428.
we'll do it out of 428.
And we'll put it to professional services for now, not
Okay.
construction in progress.
Yeah,
Right.
do it that way, that's fine.
Thank you.
Because, I mean, either way in the future, we know we're gonna need the space, whether it's the land or,
Yeah, you're gonna need more
There's a
space.
motion on the floor, so we
Yeah.
haven't voted.
all right, well, we can still, yep.
Tell me again what's happening on the second floor?
Okay, the problem is that under
No, just
federal,
what's, I know the problems.
under federal law, both floors would have to be ADA compliant if they were open to the public. And in order for the second floor to be ADA compliant, you'd have to have an elevator.
I know that.
Cost you a fortune. Okay, so the second floor is just gonna be staff offices and archive, storage. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Archive,
the first floor then, in order for you to have even staff offices on the second floor under the ADA, you would then be required to have an ADA compliant staff office on the first floor available should you have a disabled staff member.
correct.
Doesn't mean the office can't be used by an able-bodied staff member, but if you have a disabled staff member, you have to be able to accommodate their disability, and so you have to have a staff office that's ADA compliant on the
Yes.
first floor.
Right.
Okay?
Okay. Staff offices as in Steve's office?
Steve would probably be on the second floor, but as in, there would be a staff member in a staff office that is disability compliant on the
Okay,
first floor.
but, okay, clear. But I'm curious, because once upon a time, a couple months ago, you had mentioned something like tech services on the second floor,
No,
processing
no, the
materials.
computers, well, you're talking about the computer room? I'm
No.
sorry, say that
No,
again.
something like processing of materials.
Oh, yeah. There's a bullpen area that would be on the second floor, a staff bullpen area for various library tasks. But the staff also indicated that they needed more space on the first floor because they need more processing room right there behind the main desk when materials come in. It's
Right.
too, it's way too difficult and logistically hard for them to work on the
Yes.
second floor doing some of those functions that they do. So there's gonna be a breakdown. Whatever doesn't need to be done on the first floor will be done on the second floor of Miller, okay? So whatever tasks can be moved to the second floor of Miller would be moved there. For example, there's the archive room right now that's part of Carnegie. It's kind of like that, I don't know,
Long
whose office is
closet?
that? Yeah, that big closet, right, whatever you call it.
Long closet.
Yeah, that would be relocated probably to second floor if that works.
But the
But-
public uses that.
Oh, do they? Okay. Well, you'd have the viewers downstairs and you'd have the archive up if you could do it that way. You're gonna have to, the staff's gonna have to come up with a practical way to make use of the staff space on the first floor, but then move as many tasks as possible
So
to the
this will
second
be,
floor.
this will be a staff.
Yeah, they're gonna basically, I had discussions with the staff about this.
Okay.
They, to the extent practical, you move what you can to the second floor. If it has to be on the first floor, it stays on the first floor.
Okay,
Okay.
that's my concern, was processing materials on the second floor. Because they have to get there, they have to get back down.
Well, then the other discussion was about a dumbwaiter too. That was
Cheap way to
also
go.
discussed, so,
A lot of the old Carnegies had
yeah,
dumbwaiters.
yeah.
All right.
All right, so we have a motion and we have a second.
I
Any
think we
further
have a
discussion?
motion and a second.
That's what he just said.
Yep,
Yeah,
we do,
okay.
yep. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
The
Motion was to
Approve
approve
the
Rob
50
Henley's quote of $55,000 to be used out of funds from Fund 428.
And under consulting fees?
Okay, next one's Vacaville Redevelopment Agency proposal. Oh, sorry.
Just had a comment about how many RFPs are we required to obtain before you make a decision on this one solid quote? Don't you need to compare more than just
You mean
one verbal
because-
and one?
Because of the amount involved, because it's potentially over the $40,000 government code amount?
Or just to have more comparison? Different contractor, builder, architect firms?
I think
Okay.
Steve put it out to a couple different companies and no one would take the job, correct?
Yeah, yes, I think
It's gone out,
seven.
it's just
7
getting bids
different ones.
back has been difficult.
Before we commit to the contract, I'll ask Scott to look at the government code section. I am not 100% sure, but I believe that, that the 40,000 applies. I don't believe we'd be in violation of that section, but I'd have to go look at it again and make sure, okay? There is a $40,000 cutoff for which, after which you're supposed to go out and get RFPs, but that's only for certain types of projects, I think, but I'll double check it and make sure. I'll ask our attorney to look at it, okay?
Yeah, okay, it just seemed like there'd be a world of firms out there, you know, I don't know,
Okay.
just they all turned us down.
Yeah, most of them just said they were too busy.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay. The next one is, this is just the original letter that we got back in April, no changes to that, but I did have an update on the Vacaville redevelopment proposal. I talked with a member of the Board of Supervisors, Solano County Board of Supervisors and Solano County Council. Both of them said that every affected agency got the same letter that we did, and that none of the Vacaville downtown parking lots should really affect us at all, but that the
The other
only
two lots, those are the ones that issued.
yeah, particularly the one off Orange Drive is the one that the county council thought
That's a
was-
really hot property. You know, that, and they're supposed to get an appraisal and pay fair market value for those two lots.
Yeah.
Have we not done a motion yet and transferred, given up our interest in those parking lot?
No, we haven't done that yet.
Okay, well, that probably would be
Can we let
appropriate.
Steve finish his presentation first, though?
Sure.
That'd be great, thanks. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, the county's working with the city of Vacaville to come up with an agreement, and they're supposed to let us know when that happens. County council said that they will calculate our share, and then we can decide whether to accept that or not. So her advice was that we just kind of lay low and see what happens at this point.
Well, an agreement is basically fair market value. That's what the law calls for. So there shouldn't be any question. It's just a third-party appraiser who appraises the property, and then they pay fair market value to all the people who are part of the redevelopment agency according to their pro rata share. That's exactly how that works. So I don't know what if they're going to negotiate something less than fair market value, but it shouldn't have taken them even this long to do that. So I'm not sure why there's such a holdup. But as far as the parking lot, those first couple of properties, I mean, they're just $1 each, so we could go ahead and transfer those. It doesn't make any difference. Has Vacaville asked you for that, for the transfer, for us to,
No, not beyond this letter.
okay, they haven't communicated again?
I've tried to communicate with them, with Jeremy Craig, but I haven't gotten any response back from him.
Okay. Well, what would be useful is to have actual assessor's parcel numbers or descriptions for the parcels that we are relinquishing control of
We
in
had
the
that before,
redevelopment agency.
right? We had that earlier.
I think we
Yeah,
did.
We did,
Yeah,
yeah.
wherever it is. But
was,
it's hard to make a motion without having that.
Okay, no, I could get that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if City of Vacaville is counseling you to just, or the county is counseling you to hold off and not
Right.
do anything.
You're not looking
Yeah.
for a motion tonight.
Right,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, they're saying just to hold back. They'll make their proposal to us, and then we can decide to accept it or fight it when the time comes.
Well, if you had this on for action then, there was no particular action then?
No, we don't
Okay.
need to take any
All right.
action.
Okay, D.
Yeah, the next one is implementation of policy 4001, rules of conduct. The board decided several months ago to create this, this policy regarding body odor. The big problem that we're having at the library is that the board had given me the directive that I should be the only one to enforce the policy, and that it should only be enforced when there's a public complaint. The issue we've had is that we've had public complaints when I'm not there, so the staff feels like they can't really enforce the policy. And weirdly enough, we've never had a public complaint, even though there's been several when I've actually been there. So my idea was that we could empower the librarian in charge to be able to enforce this rule if it so occurs.
Sounds great.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds,
Is it still an issue there?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yep.
Do you
We
need us
need a
to vote
motion?
on that? Yeah.
so I'll move to change the rules of, modify the rules of conduct to allow whoever is in charge on a given time period.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Public comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Moreno contract.
It's just a rewritten version of Pedro Moreno's contract for the
Everything's
next
still-
year.
Everything's still going okay with him?
Yeah, everything's going good.
That's great. Do we have any questions on the contract? Mr. Contract, you sure?
No questions? No.
All right.
Contract's fine and his service is fine.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said it, a good contractor's hard to come by, that
Yeah.
stays with you.
No,
so.
we're doing fine with him.
Do we have any public comment on this? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the contract.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Staff health life insurance.
Okay, this is probably the big topic for the evening, is the staff health insurance. I did a fair amount of research on this. I contacted all of the state special districts, and I was looking to see if I could find any better insurance cost, but I went out and got a estimate from Covered California, but everybody is pretty much in the same range as SDRMA, which is who we're getting our insurance from now. So I don't really see a real reason to change from them, but I would like the board to consider paying part of the cost of the employee's dependents insurance, because it's really, really expensive.
How much you talking?
Well, yeah, I'll get to the figures in just a second. Until 2008, the library paid 60% of the cost of the dependents. In 2008, they made the coverage for any dependents would be paid by full by the employee.
So that was after 2008?
Yeah. And we are the only library in the area that does that forces the employee to pay for the dependent coverage.
Are you talking if every single person in a position had a spouse and dependents, how many?
And we're already covering 12.
And, right, we're budgeted and covered for the 12.
And you want to cover 75 of the additional 18,
Right.
which means we're covering more than 75 of the entire coverage.
Right.
So our share would be, let's see, mathematician, 40,
It's
13.5,
100%
about
of,
25,000.
it's a lot.
Yeah, it'd be about 25,000, because it'd be 75% of the 18 plus the
Yeah.
12. Okay,
A little bit more than 25.
yeah, it'd be 25 and change, yeah.
Okay, so I made a motion.
I'll second.
Do we have a motion with a second? Do we have any more comments?
Could you
I'm sorry, yes. The motion that I said was, we would go ahead and cover employee dependents up to 75%.
Any number of dependents,
Yeah.
up to 7.
Okay.
On the effective date?
July 1st. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay.
The next,
Let-
oh, go ahead.
No, never mind, that's fine.
Okay.
Approval of the minutes?
Oh, actually, life insurance was another
Oh.
segment of that.
That can't be too expensive, right?
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether we wanted to do this or not, but I did get estimates.
John,
Um,
I think
would be $210 per person to cover people for a month.
I'm sorry. You want it, I'm sorry, yeah,
No, he opened for public comment and she came up and commented and no one else stood up.
but if you want to come up and speak,
Yes, it was.
did you want to say something? I apologize for the misunderstanding.
Okay. Did Steve not start off saying that it had been decided that the library would keep up with Solano and Yolo counties on the medical?
Salaries.
Just salaries, not on
Yeah,
the
Steve said.
benefits?
The policy does say salaries, but I think that you would have to look at this cost as well to really stay competitive as far as salaries go if we're not going to pay any of the medical insurance
That's true.
for dependents.
So it specifically says salaries. Okay, that's what I wondered, thank you.
Okay.
Any other public comment?
The life insurance cost?
apologize.
Oh, sorry.
Would this medical coverage do anything for part-time people? Or is it just for full-time? Would the part-time be prorated or like we used to back in the day
Oh,
for part-time people?
I think
I
it would just
understood the
be
motion, it was only for full-time
Only for
people.
full-time.
Okay, as far as the life insurance goes, we have 5 full-time people, and I was wondering if the board would consider providing life insurance for people up to $75,000.
I mean, that's really optional, so to speak. At this point, I think we ought to revisit this 6 months down the road when we
Yeah.
see what the health insurance does to our budget first.
Okay.
Let's get a report from you on how bad a hit we took on health insurance, and then we'll see if we're able to offer any additional benefits to employees at that time. You know, at this point, I don't think we should be considering this till we see exactly what we just did to our operational budget.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
agree, thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you for bringing up the budget point of view. So then we're gonna go ahead with this 3 months, is it? We're gonna revisit it? And the results of this, employee medical issue? And so meantime, we won't change any budget things until we get to that 90-day review. And then if we decide to continue with it, we will need to get budget money because there's no budget money in there for it right now,
Okay.
right?
You're talking about life or health now?
Health.
No.
Okay. As I understood the motion, the health was not necessarily under review in 3 months.
No,
I'm-
it's not under review. Right.
It is or
I'm
is
agreeing with
not?
you. No, I'm agreeing with you. It's not under review.
It was not under
Right.
review. I had asked that the life be postponed for 90 days till we see first what the effect is of health on the budget.
But it would be nice to
Okay,
just
thank
get an
you.
update on how
Right.
much it affects our budget anyways.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna want a report.
Right,
mean,
a
whether-
report, but it's not, we're not gonna review it and
It's not gonna be a
have an
revoked
action
thing.
item on
But I
it.
think the question is, do we need to shift money right now
For the budget then,
into
yeah,
a fund or,
Yeah.
you know, into insurance?
right.
Well, I think we do, since we
Yeah.
made this retroactive to July 1.
Yeah, as an ongoing
So
expense.
could we come back next month with the budget numbers we consider reasonable for the year?
And we
to
can
do
move
this?
it over, yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Perfect, that's,
all right.
okay. Thank you.
Sounds
Thank
good.
Thank you.
Okay, the last thing is just the approval of the minutes from the June 16th meeting.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Any public comments on our minutes? Public comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any board announcements? Ideas for future agenda items?
Just the tutoring. We'll bring that up. We'll work something out.
Okay, meeting adjourned.